actually two, and they're both better, and it really helped. But what really changed it is I went to a personal development weekend workshop that was held by a best-selling author who I ended up working for later. Anyway, and it was transformative. It's like getting 5 years of therapy in one weekend. It was amazing. So I went and I did 5 of them. In fact, they were the last 5 that she ever did. And they were transformative. So I healed a whole lot of stuff, not just from those 2 key years, but other stuff. And so that changed me, where I realized, oh, there's ways out of this. Like, I didn't know you could get skills in this. And so I started reading 5 self-help books a week. I could not get enough. And so I started going to the workshops by the authors of these books. And again, eventually I ended up working for one of them. And then pretty soon I went back, got my master's degree, and then I started writing my own books, and I started being on the same stages as these other authors. And we were doing work to change the world. And so I got so excited because I realized I had spent so much time and effort that most people will never do to learn how life works and what you can do about it, that I wanted to do it. And my specialty is that I try to take the information, which I've read some of the other people's books where I'm a pretty smart guy, and I had to read some stuff 4 times to go, what are they trying to say here? My specialty is to take complex information and make it easy to understand and easy to use. So that's what my books are like. They're more like, they're not a Reader's Digest version, but I don't give you a whole lot of unexpected information that you don't really need. Like in this book, the Get Unstuck book, I wrote it like a little workbook. So at the end of every chapter, there's questions, which basically are saying, how does this relate to your life? Specifically, I'll ask specific questions, because that's where the rubber meets the road. It's where you can get a concept, but then what does that mean to you in your life? Well, that's where you get the benefit. But I tell people, when you're first reading the book, just read the whole book through. Don't bother answering the questions. You can note the questions, but just keep going, because I don't want you to get stuck reading, because sometimes you'll get stuck in some emotion that gets triggered, and I don't want you stuck there. So just go through the whole book, then go back a second time. This time you read the book, and then at the end of each chapter, you answer the questions, and then that's where all of a sudden you're going to start seeing a big difference.
Wow, that's incredible. So I guess my next question for you would be, you were talking about, you started to understand how life worked and how to manage it. So how does life work, and how do you manage it?
Well, there's that. We could go on for days on this, but again, I'm trying to give you the Reader's Digest version of everything so that you can just get the concept and then go, oh, like I'll give you the example. It's like, I don't have to teach you how to build an internal combustion engine. I teach you how to drive the car. That's all you need to know. You don't need to know how to build the engine or how it works. Doesn't matter. You turn the key, you drive it, there you go. That's all you need. That's what I'm going to teach you. It's about how life works. So let's start with this. Life is about choices. We get to make all these different choices. So I used to say this. So I'd say, well, I don't want to call it guilty, but I used to say this. So I would say, that's just who I am. And now I say to people who say that to me, no, that's how you choose to be. Because you can change. And this is another little funny thing. When I wrote my first book, which was like 25 years ago, I was reading something that said, you always remember the first words of your book. And I thought, and I go, oh crap, I cannot think of the first words of my own book. I go, if I can't remember them, no one else is going to remember them. So I wrote a new first word, and I ended up writing a whole new first chapter. Well, the first words of the book are, change happens instantly. Deciding to change takes time, sometimes years. So that's the same as I choose who I want to be. It's because change happens. If you want it to happen, it will happen. But if you keep going, this is the way I am, you're going to just keep being the same person and nothing's going to change. And Einstein said to continue to do the same thing, expecting different results, is insanity, which is exactly true. You have to do something different to be something different, to get different results. So it's an amazing life that it is shaped by your choices. So a lot of times we come into it and we are taught this is how life works. And we go through schools that teach us a certain thing. I'll give you one falsehood. You do everything that you're supposed to do and you get A's. No, sometimes you don't. Because like some of us had to work through school, even in grade school, all the way through high school, all the way through college, all the way through graduate school. We were not born rich. In fact, I was born just the opposite. And yet you can make the changes to create the life you want if you know that it's possible. So for a number of my clients, I would help them to change something that they thought was impossible. And I'd say, we have to change your belief system so you believe it is possible. But sometimes they would go, I'll try it, but I don't think it's going to work. I go, do you believe in me? And they go, yeah, I believe in you. I go, well, I believe that you can do it. So you just believe that I believe, and then we'll make it happen. And we do. So it all happens about believing. And so you get the life that you believe you deserve. And part of it is you have to listen to how you speak to yourself. A lot of times people will say things like, oh, you're an idiot. Why'd you do that? And they're talking to themselves. Like, why would you say that? You wouldn't say that to other people in most cases. But when you're saying something like, I really want such and such, like I heard someone say, oh, I really want a brand new BMW. And then right after that, the words came out of their mouth, but I can't afford it. And so you have to realize that you've got more than one mind. You've got a subconscious mind. You've got a superconscious mind. Your subconscious mind runs you most of your life. And here's how it gets programmed. From the ages 0 to 8, 80% of your programming is done. So imagine you're a computer, because you are. And the software that runs you is what you learn as you're growing up. So whatever you learn from 0 to 8, that's 80% of your subconscious programming, which runs you. For instance, you can walk down the street. You don't have to think about moving each foot, okay? In fact, when you do, you probably fall over because you're busy looking at your feet and you're not looking ahead. Anyway, so, once you learn how to tie your shoe, you're not busy thinking, how do I put it around the loop and do this? And, your subconscious mind, I've driven places and gone, how did I get here? And I realized my subconscious mind was busy driving because it's learned.
I've done that.
I've driven 1,000,000 miles, so it's learned how to do the job. I don't have to pay attention to that consciously. My eyes are still looking at the road. I'm still noticing traffic, but it's subconscious. So you can do both. You can be consciously and subconsciously doing something together, but most of your life is run subconsciously. And so, in fact, advertisers use your subconscious mind all the time. They put on commercials late at night. Then people are going to the refrigerator or they're calling for delivery. They know they can make you hungry. So stop watching those commercials. But the point is, you have a subconscious mind. So 80% is done by the time you're 8. Then another 15% is done by the time you're 18. So that means 95% of your subconscious programming was already done by the time you're 18, which means you only have 5% left for the whole rest of your life. The good news is that 5% can change the other 95. And that's what I teach people is how to do. So we rechange some of that programming so that you can actually go, oh, I can do this, and here's how to do it. But sometimes, again, the impossible stuff. One of the chapters in my book is called Miracles Happen Every Day. It's because they do. And I can teach people how to do it, but sometimes it's like you don't even know how to explain it. You just gotta, I just thought I could get this done. And I'll give an example. I had a friend of mine looking for something, and I said, tell your subconscious mind to tell you where it is. And I said, do this as you're going to sleep at night. It's called a bedtime intention. So as you're going to bed, give your subconscious mind is up all night anyway. Give it something to do. So if you have a problem, tell it, I'd like to solve this problem. And this is important information. And I'd like the answer to come to me when I wake up tomorrow. So that way it doesn't disturb your sleep. And I'd like it to come to me with grace and ease. Because I'll give an example. One time someone said that without the grace and ease part. And as they were driving to work, they had a bad accident, which got them out of the job that they're in, which they hated. And that was the answer that they wanted. What should I do to get out of this job? Well, he had a car accident, broke his leg, and he can't do the job. So if you ask for grace and ease, maybe you go without that. You can get the answer without they can go, oh, you've been laid off and we're going to give you money. As opposed to, I had broken my leg and I can't do the job. So there's that. Anyway, so that's how life is. There's a subconscious part that you've been programmed. Sometimes it's by your parents, sometimes by teachers, sometimes by society. Everybody gets a different program, and you can have siblings in the same place that don't get the same program. So, there's a lot of difference. So I work with individuals and help them in a different way to know their program. And I don't give them answers. I mean, know what I would do in that situation, but I don't tell them that's what I do. I'd go, let's help you find out what you, and there's that third part of you, that higher self, knows the answers for you. Let's connect with that and let's get the answer so you know what you need to do.
Amazing.
Am I talking too much?
No, I love it. So I live for these topics. Okay. And in fact, like some of this stuff is what I work with some of my coaching clients on, is like mindset. And I'm just sitting here because it's so enjoyable for me to hear, because I feel so connected to the information, because I had to make a huge change in my life. And I always say, and I've said many times on this podcast, is like, choice is a gift and it begins with what you choose, right?
Yep.
And I just love it. And I was thinking about how you said you went to these authors and you had a transformational experience. Mine was Tony Robbins. Like, yeah. I had 2 experiences going to his events that sort of rewired me in a way. And so those things helped me get unstuck. And but ultimately it was my choice. It was like you said, my recognition of the fact that I was stuck, and that the choice that I made to become unstuck, and then I went looking for help